Hey everybody, what's up? This is Benji Bruce here with SpeakingLifestyle.com. Now, I just read an amazing book called 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. He's the billionaire who started PayPal. He's one of the founders of PayPal. And I wanted to talk about a few things that he mentions in this book and how it relates to your speaking business. Now, I don't know about you, but when a billionaire talks about business, I listen. And more importantly, I figure out how I can take that information and how I can apply it to what I'm currently doing in my business. So one of the first things that he actually says in the book, which I really liked, is he said, every moment in business happens only once. The next Bill Gates will not build an operating system. The next Larry Page or Sergey Brin won't make a search engine. And the next Mark Zuckerberg won't create a social network. If you are copying these guys, you aren't learning from them. Now, I was like, man, that's a pretty good thing to say. I thought it was great because it's so true. I mean, lots of speakers are trying to copy guys like Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, Les Brown, or whoever you're trying to copy, whoever you're trying to learn from. A lot of speakers try to copy them. Speakers, they're trying to learn exactly what the other guy did, and that way they can copy it, but it's technically impossible. I mean, Tony Robbins built his business because he met these guys who helped him create the infomercial, and they put all the money up front, and he was essentially the guy in front of the camera. Nowadays, creating an infomercial costs way too much money, so you can't just blow up out of nowhere like Tony Robbins did. There's another motivational speaker named Brendon Burchard, and lots of speakers, they actually try to copy him, but he essentially got big time because he met a few top-notch internet marketers who promoted him, and these were like internet marketers with email lists of like 100,000 people or more, and these people were basically saying, hey, this guy's really good, buy his stuff. So he became really big time doing that. So unless you can meet like these top internet marketers or create an infomercial, you can't really copy what they did, even if they actually came out with like a speaker program saying, hey, here's what you do to build your speaking business, just because you can't build it the same way they did. Now, of course, you can learn from them. You can figure out, okay, they're teaching other stuff and you can learn from them, but just don't try to copy them. So don't really duplicate what they do. You essentially learn from them by, let's say, looking at Tony Robbins and seeing what made him really successful. What really made him successful, it wasn't the fact that the infomercial came out. I mean, what made him successful was his level of commitment. It was like the fire in his eyes. So he was so committed to making it work that it happened. And Brendon Burchard, he was able to build relationships with the top internet marketers in the industry. So you might want to learn how to build great relationships like him. That's the part that you essentially want to learn from. You can't copy them. You can only learn what made them a certain way. So don't copy the tactic. Just pay attention to their psychology. Another part that I want to mention in Peter Thiel's book, he says successful people find value in unexpected places, and they do this by thinking about business from first principles instead of formulas. Now, what does he mean by that? Well, I mentioned this actually in another video, I don't know, maybe a few days ago. I mentioned this in actually a few videos when you think about it. What he's essentially saying is that there's no such thing as a formula for success. I mean, you get this a lot from a lot of seminar guys, I guess. I mean, they say that if you follow their formula, then you're going to build a successful business just like them. But there's really no such thing. A formula means that if you follow it, you get the same results. I mean, there's no deviation from it. If you follow the formula, you will get the exact same results. I mean, Coca-Cola, they have a formula for their drink, and when you follow that formula step by step, you get the exact taste of making a Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola can. So no matter how many times you try, if you follow the formula, you will get the exact same taste as Coca-Cola. Scientists, they do all kinds of experiments, and when you follow their steps, you get the exact same results as they do. But that doesn't happen in business. There's no such thing as a formula, only principles. If there was a formula for success, then that would mean everyone who followed it would succeed. And if a billionaire who specializes in building businesses hasn't found a formula for making a business successful, then it's probably not as easy as a lot of seminar gurus make it sound. I mean, technically, if there's a formula for success, then every single person who attended that seminar, who applied it, has to succeed, not one out of the 10,000 people or so. The worst part is that you're essentially actually learning from people who are successful, and they're telling you what their formula is, and they're telling you that there's a formula out there. They're essentially telling you that if you follow what they say, then you're going to get the same results as they do. And you think to yourself, well, he's pretty successful, so it must work. And then you buy their product. Now, I know there are several well-known speakers, I mean, very well-known speakers out there with a speaker training program who tell you that if you join their program, then you're going to be as successful as them. And it's coming from very well-known guys. So you know they're making money. I mean, it's like if Tony Robbins says, hey, here's a speaker training program, you know the dude is making money. So you're like, okay, well, I'm going to join it. The problem is that there's no such thing as a formula. If there was, then that means everyone who joined their program would become as successful as them. And that never happens. You have to operate from principles first. The way you're going to make things work is to get into the mindset of learning from the principles. So think about how you're going to fully commit. I mean, a principle like that is something you could pay attention to, like how you're going to fully commit to something, or how you're going to maybe make a schedule to market yourself, make a schedule every single day, and you're going to stick to it. You think about the principles of your speaking business rather than just trying to copy exactly what they did. Now, one thing that Peter Thiel really goes into detail about is why you need to create a monopoly. And he talks about this a lot. I mean, just creating a monopoly and basically the benefit of a monopoly. But basically, when you have a competition, I mean, you don't have profits because everyone lowers their price. They make like small improvements that aren't really game changers. I mean, all kinds of things like that. That's essentially when you're having competition. And when he says monopoly, what he means is that you build a company that's so good at what it does that others just can't compete. I mean, you're so good that nobody can offer a substitute to what you're doing. And he says that the way to create a monopoly is to solve a unique problem. Now, Google, they actually solve a unique problem with their search engine. I mean, search engines, they were horrible before Google actually came out with theirs. And when they did solve this unique problem, they did it in such a way that changed the search industry forever. Peter Thiel says that a true monopoly is actually 10x better than anything that even resembles it. Now, he also does mention that it's really hard to actually create a monopoly with the service business. So I guess as speakers, we're kind of screwed a little bit. But as a speaker, you still want to really think about what he's saying. Most speakers just think about the message that they want to deliver. I mean, they're like, oh, I have a message and it's going to help change people's lives. But then again, so does every other speaker in this world. Almost every speaker is the exact same, and that's because it's really hard to be different when it comes to building your speaking business. So we're essentially kind of starting off on the wrong foundation, but the principle still stands. As a speaker, you would think about it from the standpoint of you as a speaker are the product. So if your name is John Doe, you are the product. For me, Benji Bruce, I am the product. Now, what you have to do as a speaker is you basically make yourself so different. You're the one thing that nobody can duplicate. So you make yourself so different that you become the unsubstitutable, whatever the heck, you know what I'm talking about, but you become unsubstitutable, if that's even a word. But basically, think about it like how celebrities are, like someone like Lady Gaga. She's so different, you can't copy what she's doing. And every single celebrity who is at the top of their game right now, or who was at the top at some point, they were all so different in a way that other people couldn't copy them. And that's what you have to think of yourself as a speaker. Think about how you can essentially be 10x better than everyone around you, how you can make yourself so different that others can't even come close to duplicating you. Now, this is part one of a three-part series, so I'm going to talk about part two and part three in another video, but basically we'll talk more about Peter Thiel's book 0 to 1, which is a great book, so you definitely need to buy it. But just think about those things in terms of your speaking business.